Hello. Sorry for being somewhat late. Apparently today the district line doesn't do a thing, which is great if you need to go use the district line. And you have no clue that it doesn't go today. So I spent most of my time today admiring a beautiful station called Bayswater in a severely jet-lagged state. So if I make no sense at any point during this presentation, just throw something at me or something, you know, just let me know. Normally I start a presentation with music, but I can't find the music. Wait, let me make music play. So you guys are here for Wasteland Kings. Hello, my name is Rami Ismail. I'm one half of Dutch independent studio Vlambeer. My fellow Vlambeer is JW, who didn't make it out here because he is in the Netherlands recovering from an event in Austin. I'm recovering from an event in Austin right here on stage. So like I said, if I don't make any sense, just throw something at me. This is me. I drink lots of Coca-Cola. That's what I'm known for mostly. I do the business and development, which means that I mostly talk to people in suits that try to rob us of our money. And this is JW, who draws doodles in little booklets and then calls that game design. Then together we argue about stuff and then we make video games. I'm going to talk a bit about how we make video games, why that is a stupid way to make video games and why we do it anyway. But first, I can't really see you guys. Who here doesn't know what Vlambeer is? There's a bunch of people. Okay, I'm going to go through the Vlambeer story then. We made a few games. Actually, we made a lot of games. In the first 3 years, since we started back on September 1st, 2010, we made 15 games. We're almost releasing our 16th, although I've been saying that for a year and a half by now. And we are talking about our 17th game. We made Super Crate Box. We made a game about fishing with guns called Radical Fishing. We made Luftrausers, Gun GODZ, Serious Sam the Random Encounter, Karate, Luftrausers, Ridiculous Fishing, a whole bunch of games. Anyway, we started a few years ago when we were bored of school, and we had this prototype called Crates from Hell that we really liked, and we thought that would be great. So we thought, you know what, we're just going to get a team together. We're going to make this prototype that was, you know, it was a good game, but it was ugly and it sounded stupid and was way too hard. So we decided to drop out and start a company together, even though we didn't really like each other. Working together with somebody you don't like leads to instant success in the form of lots of noodles, because you can't really afford any other food. And also in me using all the money I had left to buy lots of Coca-Cola so I didn't fall asleep while programming. In those 3 months we made a game about shooting fish. That earned us about $10,001. And we turned this into this. This is Super Crate Box, which is free. If any of you are playing on your mobile phone during this presentation, it better be Super Crate Box or Ridiculous Fishing. This game did really, really, really well. As in, it was free, so it didn't earn us, like, fuck all, but it did get us a lot of awareness. A lot of people suddenly heard about our games, and that was great because we got flown out to big events with fancy food and stuff, and after eating noodles for 3 months, fancy food is pretty awesome. Winning awards and going around the world and talking to people was super cool, and it kept us pretty humble. So we started making more games. This is Gun GODZ, our first-person shooter about hip-hop on Venus. We started giving talks because suddenly people were interested in hearing our opinion. Then we made more games. This is Serious Sam the Random Encounter, which is a turn-based RPG about Serious Sam. By the way, this game was sort of weird because the people that own the Serious Sam IP send us an email that they wanted us to make Serious Sam game. We were like, these people just want Super Crate Box with a Serious Sam skin. So we're going to pitch the dumbest thing we can come up with to them. What is the dumbest thing you can do with a first-person shooter that is really fast and is about running backwards while screaming enemies run at you? Well, that's a turn-based RPG. So we pitched that in the full assumption that they would say, no, that's a dumb idea. So we got an email saying yes. And then we had to make Serious Sam RPG. Turned out pretty fun, by the way. Then we started going to conferences, and suddenly we had T-shirts with our logo on it, and like T-shirts, it's pretty awesome. Then we started making more games about shooting fish, because we like games about shooting fish. Then we got screwed over because somebody else thought, well, if they're making games about shooting fish, we can make games about cutting fish. That is, by the way, like pretty much exactly the same game, but instead of shooting, it'll be cutting, and instead of a redneck, it'll be a ninja. And that's original, they thought. We didn't, so we got pretty depressed when they made $1 million or so. So we decided, fuck it, we'll just go to the New York Times and complain about it, which is what this is. And suddenly, we were sort of a poster child in the whole cloning debate. Like, video game cloning is bad. People don't do it. If you're developers, don't do it. If you're not developers, don't buy it. Anyway, suddenly we were a presence. Suddenly people knew about us because there was this cloning debate going on everywhere, and wherever it came up, people were talking about Ridiculous Fishing and its clone, which I refuse to name. So we suddenly started getting more involved, and we started to use that involvement to do good things. So JW started organizing a game jam about making first-person shooters called 7 Day FPS. So I started organizing a game jam that was named Fuck This Jam, which made every newspaper that tried to write about it figure out how to write about that without upsetting all their readers in Central America. Then we started organizing more events. I started helping out with the Indie Mega Booth. So in all, we started to try and do good things with that sort of involvement we had gained. And in the meanwhile, we made more games about explosions. We released Ridiculous Fishing, which earned us a good amount of money. We're still trying to release Luftrausers. And I want to talk to you today about why we develop games twice. Because we always do. So, my apologies for the first 6 slides that come after this. I was under the impression that I would have about an hour here to fix those slides. But since Bayswater Station does not allow me to do that, I didn't. I want to introduce the team that works on this game with us, because we tend to work with a variety of people. We try to work with new people every time. There's a bunch of people we work with repeatedly. And the first one I want to mention is Vlambeer, which is our pixel artist. We have one fan of Vlambeer. Awesome. No, Vlambeer is, in my opinion, one of the best pixel animators in the world and a great artist at that. We've worked with him forever, ever since Super Crate Box, back in the days. He didn't do Radical Fishing, for those of you who think so. Also not Ridiculous Fishing, but he did do pretty much every other game we ever did. He's from the Netherlands and a friend of ours, and that's how we know him. Yukio Kallio is DJ Kozilek, and he was the guy that did the soundtrack you heard at the start. He's a guy that makes music that is about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. And he is best known for his electronic music act under the name of Kozilek. So every time we work with him, we tell him to do something that is not subtle electro, which at first sort of, we told him, for Luftrausers, we want a unique soundtrack per airplane, and we have 125 airplanes, so can you please make 125 soundtracks? And for Wasteland Kings, we said, we want something that sounds completely real, like not chiptunes, not any of that, just like music. So every time we tell him to do something else than what he's used to. I don't know if he likes us for that or not. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just thinks we're assholes, which I could imagine. But he's been really good. And that track you hear just now, I just played it because I think it sounds cool. I think it's awesome. This is Justin. Well, there's no photo. Justin Chan does the promotion art for this game. So if you've ever been to wastelandkings.com, that entire big image at the top of the 3 characters sitting around the campfire, that's him. The way we met Justin is actually really interesting. He made a fan art piece for the original Wasteland Kings a while ago, and we thought that fan art was so pretty that we come aboard, make art for us, because that is awesome. So that happens as well, if you are an aspiring developer / artist / whatever, just make stuff you think is cool and send it to the people that that would be interested in seeing it, because sometimes shit like this does happen. And the final guy is Jonas Turner, who most people wouldn't know, but if you've played Badlands on iOS, he did the sound effects for that. He's a great sound effects guy. I've got something in the presentation later on that he did. And now you can see I made this presentation in like this part of the presentation in a rush, because this slide should have been at the start of what I just told. But I want to talk about our process, the way it works, and why that makes Vlambeer games. So if you paid attention at the start of this presentation, this is a thing we made. It's called Crates from Hell. It's basically Super Crate Box, but if you pay attention, you notice that there are 2 crates, that it looks that it's not quite Super Crate Box. But JW made this, and this is the first time I saw Super Crate Box back when I was in university with JW. And there was something there, because it was sort of a platform shooter where you had to move around and collect things, and then the game sort of changed randomly. And that was interesting. It was fun to play. We just didn't know what to do with it. So we sort of took that concept, got a team together of people that we think are the best in what they do, and then made Super Crate Box out of that. Now, the interesting thing here is that this game stayed almost identical. If you look at the screenshots, even the screenshots are pretty much the same thing. That was coincidental, by the way. We thought that was super cool. But these screenshots are almost identical. This game barely changed. The only thing that happened was, even though we made Crates from Hell in 2 days, we spent 6 months on getting the feel right for this game. And that is sort of at the core of what a Vlambeer game is these are all games, all the games that we make are games that we can make in 2 days. They're games that we can start working on, have an idea, then implement in 2 days, check whether they're fun, and if they're fun, work on it. And if they're not fun, dismiss them, go back later, or never go back. So for radical fishing, the core loop of the game, which has anybody played? Has anybody not played radical or ridiculous fishing? Okay, so the core loop of the game, if you have an iPhone, by the way, it's like $3. It's worth it. If you have an Android phone, please don't ask. So the core loop of ridiculous fishing and radical fishing is really simple. You're a fisherman in a boat. You start by having your hook descend into the water, and you have to dodge fish on the way down. So the reason you do that is to get as deep as possible into the water. And if you do that right, you get like pretty far down. Then as soon as you hit a fish or your line runs out, your hook starts to go back up again, and you try to catch as many fish as possible. So the better you do in the first part, the more fish you'll be able to catch on your way back up. The third stage is all the fish that you've caught, as soon as you hit the surface of the water, like fly into the air, you grab your shotgun and you shoot them. So you shoot the fish, and that earns you money, because that makes sense. Then, the money you earn through those fish you spend in the shop. The shop allows you to buy items that make it easier for you to go down, or to go back up, or to shoot the fish. So it's basically an infinite reward cycle. If you do good in if you do better at the first stage, you'll do better at the second stage, you'll do better at the third stage, you'll do better at the fourth stage, which will allow you to do better at the first stage. That was really interesting, but we felt that we didn't explore that far enough, and we also felt that there was more to this guy with this little cap sitting in the water shooting fish. So for ridiculous fishing, we went back, and we looked at how can we use that cycle in more interesting ways. Can we have several sort of progress factors? Can people progress not only through the upgrades, but also through, let's say, areas, or a story, or boss fish, or a book, a Twitter feed? That's just based on time. So we start to look at how can we make people feel like they're progressing through something, and is there a way for us to weave, like sort of put a narrative into a game that is about shooting fish? And that's sort of what we did with Ridiculous Fishing. Ridiculous Fishing is the story of a man looking for something that he's lost. It's officially titled Ridiculous Fishing: A Tale of Redemption. And even though the story isn't really in your face, if you complete the game, when you're done, you'll have a sense of sort of what happened in the game. We were really happy that we managed to do that. Luftrausers was a 2D dogfighting game we made in, I think, about shooting airplanes, which is more reasonable than shooting fish, I guess. It was a game we made that was about momentum. It's about that feeling of an airplane falling and then like slamming on the engines and sort of like taking off right above the water with like water splashes and everything. And we made this in a day, and we didn't really think much of it until we posted it to our website. So the original idea for Luftrauser for us was that we would make a small flash game like Radical Fishing and earn $10,000 and then be able to make some games for a while. But then nobody bought it because, look at it, it's a game in 4 colors. Flash game websites don't buy that stuff. So we couldn't sell it, so we just put it on our own website. We didn't market it, we didn't do anything with it. And then we realized that, that the original Luftrauser, which is here mistakenly pluralized, sorry guys. Nice. Luftrauser that the original Luftrauser on our website was getting more plays than our other 2 Flash games combined on big websites that were actively marketing them. So that was funny. Also, we sent an email to a few of those Flash websites with the numbers saying, "You're lost, guys." But suddenly we realized that there was something here that we hadn't quite figured out, that we didn't know was so compelling about this game that people kept playing it. And after a while, we realized that it was just one thing, and one thing we always do. We put so much effort into the details and the feel of this game that it just felt nice to fly around. Even without enemies, this game is super fun to just like fly around and like sort of like skim the water and see water splash up. So we thought, so this is a game about feeling like you're the best pilot in the world, so why don't we make a game about being the best fighter pilot in the world? So that's what Luftrausers turned into, is a game in which we sort of figured out, like, how can we make people feel like they own this airplane and they are the best pilot ever? So a lot of this game is actually smoke and mirrors to make you feel like the best fighter pilot in the world. But when you're playing it, you sort of are the best fighter pilot in the world, until you realize that you actually suck and that you have to get better at the game to be the best fighter pilot in the world. This game is actually on the show floor, so if you have no clue what I'm trying to talk about, head downstairs, find the one place where Hotline Miami is and Luftrausers, they're together. People will ask you whether you're 18 to play this game. That's not because of this game, that's because Hotline Miami is in the 18, like not in the 18+ section or something. So just ignore those people and go play Luftrausers. And then we made a game called Gun Gods, which looked like this, which is not what most people expect Gun Gods to look like if they know Vlambeer. This is a top-down roguelike about running away from a sort of interdimensional police force while killing monsters. And this game was awful. This was the worst thing we ever made. So we never released it. Instead, halfway through, we decided, well, you know what, we'll just make Gun Gods a first-person shooter. So we made a first-person shooter about hip-hop on Venus. And then released it to backers of Venus Patrol. It's now available for free at vlambeer.com/3. So if you want a first-person shooter about hip-hop, vlambeer.com/3, it's free. So there was this one game that we had that we really wanted to make. But we already released Gun Gods, so we couldn't call that Gun Gods. So about a year after we released the first-person shooter, we decided that maybe it was time to check out this one game again, and that became Wasteland Kings. Wasteland Kings was made during Mojam originally, which is a charity game jam held by the Mojang guys, so Notch, Minecraft, that whole, you know, the thing. The jam was a great success. They earned like $500,000 or something for charity. And we ended up with this tiny prototype of a top-down roguelike that was, without a doubt, fun. It was also the first time that me and JW didn't argue about something, because we both agreed that this was good. There was something here that was going to be something interesting. So, Wasteland Kings is a game about mutants. It's a game about mutants in a post-apocalyptic world. Everything has gone to hell. They gather every now and then around a campfire and then head into the wastelands to try and become the ruler of the wastelands. There is this mythical throne in the game that would make you the impromptu ruler of this universe. They're all trying to get it, and they all get shot and killed. Which is, you know, whatever, that happens. I mean, the world has gone to hell anyway, so you might as well, you know, get shot or something. This is not a big deal in this world. This happens all the time, you know, like you go to mutant school or anything, I don't know what you do when you're a young mutant, and you get shot. Happens. So there's a bunch of different mutants that you can play, and we wondered, like, why is it that we're not arguing about this game? What makes this game different in that we just agree about stuff? Because if you go back and you look at Super Crate Box, there were a lot of things that me and JW weren't agreeing about that ended up like with some sort of middle solution that I can't even remember, because this is 3 years ago and we've made 15 games since. So I remember that we argued a lot about stuff, but I don't actually remember about what. Oh yeah, wait, the parallax on the background is inverted. I don't know if anybody ever noticed that, but it's the wrong way around. And JW thought it would look cool, and I thought it looked the wrong way around. For ridiculous fishing, basically we spent 2.5 years arguing. For Luftrausers, we actually had an argument about the shape of the clouds. If you look at those clouds, like, we disagreed about that. Because JW wanted them to be like Chinese line clouds, you know, those beautiful line art clouds, they look like wind, which is why I thought it was a bad idea, because they look like wind, and they need to be clouds, so why wouldn't we make them look like wind? And we argued for 3 days, and actually went home during one of those days, because we were just like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I'm going home. And then on the third day, JW agreed that it should be clouds. Now that's not to say, like, I mean, it's not as if every time we argue I win, it's just that I tell the ones in which I win. And JW isn't here, so, you know. So we tend to argue a lot about everything, but we didn't for this game, and we started thinking about that, and we think we figured it out. The reason why we're not arguing about Wasteland Kings is because Wasteland Kings is sort of everything we did before as one thing. Everything we learned in these past 3 years as game developers comes together in Wasteland Kings, and it just makes sense to us. So what I mean by that is that Super Crate Box is about randomness. Super Crate Box is about lots of things happening that you don't have control over. You can get good at Super Crate Box. I've seen people score 4,000 crates in a single game, which is an hour and a half of perfect Super Crate Box, on a phone, playing like this, which I didn't understand, but that was how they held the phone. But you can't master Super Crate Box because there's randomness involved. You can't always know what's going to happen. If you look at Wasteland Kings is a roguelike. The worlds are randomly generated. So even though you can get good at recognizing situations, you can get good at reading the patterns in the game, you can't ever master Wasteland Kings because there's randomness involved. Ridiculous Fishing is a lot about narrative. It's also a lot about upgrade paths, and for us, Wasteland Kings is sort of a weird game because it ties together all of our earlier games in a weird way. I don't want to explain how they do that, but Wasteland Kings for us sort of feels like a closing piece on all these other stories, all these other worlds that we created. And we're not going to push that in your face because we don't like stories like that. We like narrative games, but we don't like making them because they involve narrative, and we're not really good at narrative. We're really good at explosions. So we sort of like to hide the narrative in little details in the background. Like, this is the story, and if you pay attention, you can see that it's there. You can see that we know what the story is. And you can already feel that back with Radical Fishing. With Wasteland Kings, the story happens sort of between the games you play. And again, it's not going to be in your face, but there is going to be a story in the background that keeps happening. If you're paying attention, you will probably be able to figure out how the game relates to every other game we ever made. Except for karate, because that doesn't fit. But we made that in 1 hour and 57 minutes, so we guess that's fair. And Luftrausers is about customization. It's about making your own airplane and feeling like you're great. Well, feeling like you're good at a game anyway, feeling like making people feel like they're in charge, that they know what's happening and how to respond to that. Communication is a really big part of making a video game. So in Wasteland Kings, you get to pick your own character, and every character has an active and a passive ability. And they're all completely different. But the interesting thing, I think, is that you can upgrade every character through mutations that you gather. The problem with that is that they're also random. So even though you can start with a character and you know that you're starting from here, you're not quite sure where you're going to go from there because that's just what the game gives you. You still get to pick from 4, so you can sort of steer, but you're not in full control, which we think is an interesting sort of weird tension at the center of the game is, I can try and use this character and then hope I get this halfway through, but what if I don't? Another interesting thing we've been doing is we've been developing this openly. So who's been watching the stream? oh, that's good. That's a lot of people that could watch the stream. We're live streaming development for this game. We're pretty much only developing while streaming. So if you want to know how a Vlambeer game gets made in full, you can just join us at wastelandkings.com or on our Twitch TV channel. We stream every Tuesday and Thursday. And if you don't make video games but would like to get a feeling of what it's like to make video games, or if you do make video games and you want to point out that we're idiots and we should do X better than what we're doing now, please just join us in the stream and hang out and tell us what you think. Soon we'll be opening up early builds on Steam and Humble, hopefully next week. But there's one thing we need to do before that, because we have to change the name of Wasteland Kings, and this is actually the first time I'm announcing this, I think, officially. So we will be renaming Wasteland Kings for a variety of reasons that will soon be in the press everywhere, because I need to send an email. Wasteland Kings will in the future be known as Nuclear Throne, with a little fish sitting on a throne. I want to run you guys through how Wasteland Kings became what it is now. So I'm going to switch to those computers right there and run you through a bunch of builds of the game, and tell you what is interesting about those. So can we switch to this screen, please? Thank you. So this is what a folder of Vlambeer game looks like. Yes, sure. This is it. This is a Vlambeer game. JW has no clue how to do versioning. This is the game that you can download right now. So first thing you notice is that if you've played Wasteland Kings, that this image is wrong. This is not ice. This is melting. Everything is wrong. So this is the game. You run around. You don't need to lower the sound. It's okay. Oops. So this is sort of the general structure of Wasteland Kings. You get a randomly generated level, you shoot at stuff and stuff shoots at you, and if you do it well, you don't die and they do. As soon as you kill everything in the level, a portal opens to the next level that is then randomly generated. And if you gather enough of those little green things, the little radiation things, you will be allowed to upgrade your character. Now, I did not know that these 4 options would be my options, again, because they are randomly generated. But for example, for Ice, it might be interesting to have more HP. Even though I have a lot of HP, it sort of makes him into a tank character. So the special power that I has is that when I do this, using the right mouse button, enemies are attracted to me, so they walk towards me, while bullets are sort of pushed away from me. One of the things we really wanted to do with Wasteland Kings was create special powers, active abilities, that do not use the normal sort of cooldown or timing method. So there are no cooldowns on these powers, they just have a good and a bad side. So I'm going to switch to another build. This is the version you can download for free. This is Wasteland Kings new version 4 with some quick-ass experiments. This is sort of a bit further along. So here you can see we've added a bunch of characters. This was all done, and a really great art style, I might say. So this is Melting. This is one of my favorite characters, to be honest. So that was what we tested for this build. That's all that's in there, is we can give an object a dramatic intro. Melting is actually really cool, I think, because the way melting works is every enemy that you kill turns into something you can blow up with the right mouse button. That does mean that when you blow them up, you won't be able to blow them up again because you will have blown them up. So that's a really, for us, that felt like a really interesting way to play around with special powers and abilities in a way that we don't think has been done before all that often, or at all. So that's sort of an introduction we did there. In version 11, we sort of got our narrative down. So this is the first time you see the campfire. It's completely bugged in this build. Want to see another character? Anybody any preference for a character? The triangle dude? So this is actually the gun god from Gun Gods. It's a little wink towards the first person shooter. It's the final boss from that game. And he is the god of guns. So when you play as him, and I need to figure out how to start the game with this character. Ugh, this build is broken. Let me just move forward. This was a logo we considered. Triangle dude. That's not triangle dude. See, this is how broken we show our games. This was the Gamescom build. Not even an option. Oh, this build is awful. It introduced the gold scorpion. Okay, now we should lower the music a bit. So that's how we test big enemies. We just spawn them right at the start. And this is the current version of the game. So this guy, what he does is he can fire a more powerful version of each weapon with the right mouse button. So I use double the ammo. If you look in the top left, you'll see that my ammo depletes 2 bullets at once. But I do fire in a way more powerful way, which is way more fun if you have bigger weapons. So let me grab a bigger weapon. I'm totally not cheating, by the way. Oops. Good tips. We've written really good tips for this game. Ugh, I don't have bullets. Help. Oh my god. Ah! No! No, 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 no. Oh. That didn't work. Anyway, he shoots a more powerful version of his gun. Crystal is really interesting, I think. So Crystal turns into a crystal, which deflects bullets. Of course, now I grabbed the machine gun, which would have been really fun to show with the Gun God character. So let's do one final thing. So this is the second boss in the game. This is the first time we're showing that. If I don't die before I get there. Ah! That fire thing dangerous. Ah! Not good. Not good at all. So that is, from now on, Nuclear Throne. If you go to nuclearthrone.com in the future, you can watch us live stream this game and maybe actually kill that boss. But that was a really bad run. It's a really hard boss, though. We like making hard games. I think somebody was gesturing I ran out of time. Yes. Sorry, I ran out of time. Thank you so much.
We're going to set up the next session now. If you'd like, we were going to do Q&A, but there's no time for that. If you'd like to talk to Rami while we get the next session set up, that's fine. And also, if you're planning on attending the next session, which is the Eurogamer Indie podcast, live on stage, feel free to just keep your seats. You don't need to go in queue.
I will keep seated because I think I'm on that, ain't I?
Okay.
Good. So go ahead, ask questions if you have them. Can I just do that here?
Yeah, do that.
Of course.
Also, thank you very much, Rami, for being here.